Tonight's ticker tape parade. Ali Pasha's French connection. McQueen's horsepower revealed. And pilot plummets. Gravity got me, he cried. Plus, Percy Pepper's pigeon plot exposed. Those are the headlines. This is the news.
Newsbang. The Emperor's new words, fashionably factual and politically correct. Amidst, 1798.
The French Revolution has hit a snag in the Balkans. Ali Pasha, the Lion of Yanina, has mauled French forces at Nicopolis, proving that a fondness for baguettes and cheese is no match for a good old-fashioned Ottoman thrashing.
One shell-shocked French soldier, Pierre Baguette, lamented, "Mon Dieu, they didn't even pause for a wine break."
Ali Pasha, whose beard is rumoured to be insured by Lloyd's of London, seized control of Preveza in a whirlwind of scimitars and strategic brilliance.
Local resident Stavros Gyros, still shaking his head, said, "Ali Pasha works faster than a kebab chef on a Saturday night. I went out for a souvlaki and when I returned, the entire city had been redecorated."
Date 1995.
Alexander McQueen's The Hunger runway show has left the fashion world aghast. Eyewitnesses report skeletal models draped in worms and a general atmosphere of haute couture meets horror film.
Ethel Frobisher, a 73-year-old pensioner who stumbled into the show by mistake, remarked, "Disgraceful. In my day, models wore clothes," before demanding a front-row seat.
T-Rex skeletons at the Natural History Museum reportedly covered their bony eye sockets in shame as models sauntered past in outfits that left little to the imagination, and even less to the wardrobe department.
Fashion critic Tarquin Smythe Ponsington threw the fainted dead away, muttering something about the apocalypse of chic. Meanwhile, local vampire enthusiasts are demanding McQueen tone down the glamour, lest it attract unwanted attention to their community.
1906.
Brazilian madman Alberto Santos Dumont took to the skies over Paris today, defying gravity and common sense alike. Witnesses report the mustachioed maniac hurled his contraption, dubbed the 14 bis, into the air like a drunken pelican, narrowly missing several horrified onlookers.
The aircraft, resembling a poorly constructed kite with delusions of grandeur, managed to stay aloft for a staggering 50 meters before plummeting back to Earth. Bystander François Fromage exclaimed, "Mon Dieu, it was like watching a flying baguette with wings."
Santos Dumont, clearly intoxicated by his brush with death, declared, "This is but the beginning. Soon we shall conquer the skies and rain terror upon unsuspecting pigeons everywhere."
Newsbang. A trip to the hypogem of truth, one factual frenzy at a time.
And now for a weather report that's as unpredictable as a cat on a hot tin roof. Here's our meteorological maverick, Shakanaka Giles, with today's forecast.
Southern England, a nip in the air, a frosty embrace. Noses beware, it's a cold one to face. Wrap up warm, layer upon layer, or you'll be shivering. It's a bone chiller, I swear. Midlands, a deluge descends, a ballerina's grace misplaced. Wellies recommended, or prepare for a soggy pace. A symphony of squelching, a chorus of drips, best stay indoors with a good book and your favourite sips. Northern regions, the wind takes the stage, a banshee's howl, a tempestuous rage. Hats will fly high, a chaotic display, so hold on tight, lest they blow far away. Bonfire night nears, a fiery delight, but watch for the sparks as they dance in the night. In summary, a tapestry of weather, a mixed bag indeed. From frost to flood, a spectrum we heed. So bundle up tight and brace for the ride. It's a British autumn in all its unpredictable stride. And that's all the weather.
Amidst, 1798.
Hold on to your croissants because those Frenchies have just had their fancy pants trounced in grease. It's 1798, and Ali Pasha, the Ottoman Albanian hardman, has sent those revolutionary chaps packing with a right flea in their ear. Apparently, he doesn't fancy sharing his baklava. We go live now to our man on the run, Brian Bastable, who's dodging stray cannonballs and trying to find a decent bottle of Retsina. Brian, what's the word from the front lines?
Pamela, Nicopolis is a right mess. Imagine a Greek wedding reception gone wrong with more blood than ouzo. Ali Pasha's lads are having a right old knees up, celebrating their victory over those garlic-loving surrender monkeys. The French are retreating faster than a waiter with a tray full of spilled moussaka. I just saw a bloke trying to barter his musket for a donkey, Pamela. He reckons he can make it back to Paris faster than those chaps on foot. Not sure he's factored in the Pyrenees, but you've got to admire his optimism. Ali Pasha, on the other hand, is looking like a cat that got the cream, the baklava, and the whole bloody kebab shop. He's strutting around like he owns the place, which, after today, he pretty much does. This victory's put a right spanner in the works of French expansion, Pamela. It seems those dreams of a Mediterranean empire are going about as well as a vegan at a souvlaki festival. This is Brian Bastable, Newsbang, signing off from a battlefield that's more chaotic than a Zorba the Greek dance-off. Back to you, Pamela, before I get mistaken for a Frenchman and forced to eat snails.
To hasty, 2001.
The video game industry has been rocked by the release of Grand Theft Auto 3, a digital simulation that appears to encourage wanton violence, theft, and general mayhem. Critics are up in arms claiming this so-called game is corrupting the youth and turning our streets into virtual war zones. Meanwhile, hordes of glassy-eyed youngsters queue for hours, desperate to get their hands on what some are calling Murder Simulator 3000. To delve deeper into this digital debauchery, we go now to our crime correspondent Ken Schitt. Ken, just how dangerous is this pixelated menace to society?
Listen up, you piss-drinking cockwumbles. It's 2001, and the video game industry just got a swift kick in the balls from a little beauty called Grand Theft Auto 3. This digital mayhem simulator isn't just another pixelated wank fest. It's a goddamn revolution wrapped in a chaos burrito. Rockstar Games just unleashed a 3D orgy of violence, crime, and player freedom that's got soccer moms clutching their pearls and politicians soiling their $2,000 suits. But let me tell you something, you limp-dicked ninnies. This is what gaming's all about. GTA 3 drops you into a living, breathing city where you can do whatever the hell you want. Steal cars, shoot up rival gangs, or just drive around like a complete twat. It's all here, served up on a silver platter of depravity. But it's not just about mindless violence, you simpletons. This game's got a story that'll make your favorite soap opera look like a kindergarten puppet show. It's gritty, it's mature, and it doesn't give two shits about your delicate sensibilities. Mark my words, you snot-nosed little pricks. This is the future of gaming. Open worlds, mature content, and the freedom to be the biggest asshole this side of the Atlantic. Grand Theft Auto 3 isn't just a game, it's a middle finger to everything that came before it. So strap in, you miserable cunts, because gaming will never be the same again. This is Ken Schitt, signing off before I steal a car and drive it off a fucking cliff.
1850. And it is interstitsa sagesdam.
And on this day in 1850, a gathering of formidable ladies in Worcester, Massachusetts, shook the very foundations of patriarchy. Over 1,000 women, armed with nothing but their convictions and possibly a few well-placed hatpins, stormed the city to demand their rights. The event, now known as the First National Women's Rights Convention, saw discussions on such radical notions as allowing women to vote, own property, and, brace yourselves, work outside the home. One can only imagine the panic this caused among the menfolk of Worcester. Were smelling salts involved? For more on this revolutionary gathering and its repercussions, we cross to our American correspondent, Melody Wintergreen.
Worcester, Massachusetts, 1850. Melody Wintergreen here, at the first National Women's Rights Convention, where the air is thick with revolutionary spirit and the menfolk are fanning themselves furiously. Over 1,000 women have descended on this sleepy town, and honey, they're not here for a quilting bee. They're demanding the right to vote, the right to own property, the right to work outside the home. It's enough to make a Victorian gentleman faint dead away. Inside Brinley Hall, the energy is electric. Sojourner Truth, the legendary abolitionist, is bringing down the house with her fiery oratory. "Ain't I a woman?" she thunders, her voice shaking the rafters. The answer, my friends, is a resounding yes. Paulina Wright Davis, our fearless leader, is presiding over this momentous gathering. She's laying out a vision for a new America, one where women are not just wives and mothers, but citizens, thinkers, and doers. The men in the back rows are starting to sweat. This is not the world they're used to. As the debate rages, the future hangs in the balance. Will America embrace a more equitable society or cling to the old ways? The stakes are high, the tension is thicker than a whalebone corset, and the outcome is uncertain. This is Melody Wintergreen for Newsbang, from the front lines of the women's rights movement. Remember, ladies, a woman's place is wherever she darn well pleases.
Newsbang, the jaws of accuracy crunching down on falsehoods.
Traffic now. Polly Beep. What travel troubles are plaguing the past?
Bonjour mes petits choux. Polly Beep here with a traffic report that's more chaotic than a can-can dancer in a crowded pub. We're hopping in our time machine and zooming back to 1895, folks. Hold on to your berets because we've got a runaway train situation in Paris. That's right. The 4:15 Express at Montparnasse station has decided to make a grand exit. Through the station wall, it's dangling precariously over the street below, looking like a giant metal caterpillar that's lost its grip. Avoid Rue de Rennes unless you fancy a close encounter of the train kind. Meanwhile, on the Champs-Élysées, it's a mime mayhem. A whole herd of those silent performers has escaped from, well, wherever it is mimes come from. They're blocking traffic, causing confusion, and I wouldn't be surprised if they've started a mime-only traffic jam. It's all terribly quiet, but rather unsettling. Over in London, a pea super fog has descended, thicker than a bowl of lentil soup. Visibility on Tower Bridge is down to about an inch, so if you're crossing, best bring a guide dog and a foghorn. And finally, a message for all you time-traveling tourists. Make sure your DeLoreans are in tip-top condition before you attempt any temporal jumps. We don't want a repeat of last week's incident when a chap from 2045 accidentally materialized in the middle of the Battle of Hastings. Poor fellow ended up with a rather nasty case of arrow shock. This is Polly Beep, signing off. Bon voyage.
1906.
And now, for a special report on the history of aviation and its surprising connection to British curry houses, we turn to our science correspondent, Calamity Prendeville.
Good evening, viewers. On this day in 1906, a miraculous feat of British ingenuity took flight. Alberto Santos Dumont, a Brazilian chap with a penchant for tea and crumpets, piloted his revolutionary 14-bis aircraft for a whopping 50 metres. That's longer than the queue at your local chippy on a Friday night.
Now, you might wonder how this marvel came to be. Well, it all started when Santos Dumont had a vivid dream about a flying contraption after a particularly spicy curry in Brick Lane. Inspired by the box kites he saw children playing with in Hyde Park, he crafted the 14 Beers using nothing but twine, old bed sheets, and a repurposed lawnmower engine.
The real genius, though, was in the controls. Santos Dumont, struggling with his long manicured nails, designed octagonal ailerons that could be operated by dainty fingers. This innovation later inspired the creation of the Petticoat 5 computer, but that's a story for another day.
As for the flight itself, it was a spectacle to behold. The crowd, mostly there for a picnic, were astounded as the 14 Beers gracefully ascended to the dizzying height of 4 metres, about the same as a double-decker bus with a very tall man standing on top.
This momentous occasion was captured on film, making it the world's first aviation blockbuster. Move over, Wright brothers. British innovation has once again proven that anything is possible with a stiff upper lip and a dash of eccentricity. So next time you're sipping your Earl Grey at 35,000 feet, remember, it all started with a curry-induced dream, and a contraption that looked like a clothesline had a baby with a bicycle. This is Calamity Prendeville, reminding you that the sky's the limit, but only if you're British.
It is Newsbang. Truth, unfettered by facts, unbound by reality. Date 1995.
And on this day in 1995, the fashion world was left agog as Alexander McQueen's The Hunger runway show unleashed a torrent of controversy upon unsuspecting spectators. Models bearing more than just their souls strutted down the catwalk, making gestures that would make even the most hardened sailor blush. The Natural History Museum in London played host to this sartorial spectacle, where worms and red silk fail collided in a Gothic extravaganza. For more on this titillating tale of tailoring, we go to our culture correspondent, Smithsonia Moss.
Now, at this point of the evening, we welcome listeners on FM who've just joined us.
Whoa, Newsbang Nation. Smithsonia Moss here, your fashion fairy godmother. And honey, let me tell you, Alexander McQueen's The Hunger show in 1995 was more shocking than a wardrobe malfunction at the Met Gala. We're talking jaws on the floor, pearls clutched so tight they practically turned to dust, and critics scribbling furiously in their notebooks, trying to make sense of the fashion supernova that had just exploded before their very eyes. Okay, so picture it. October 19th, 1995. The hallowed halls of London's Natural History Museum, normally home to dusty dinosaur bones and stuffed dodos, transformed into a catwalk of couture chaos. Alexander McQueen, that enfant terrible of the fashion world, chose this unlikely setting for his spring-summer 1996 collection. And honey, it was a match made in heaven, or maybe hell, depending on your taste. The clothes themselves were a masterpiece of Gothic drama, a twisted symphony of beauty and decay. Think ripped lace, shredded silk, and those infamous bumpster trousers that had everyone questioning the very definition of decency. One model even strutted down the runway in a molded plastic bodice with live worms crawling inside. It was like a scene straight out of a David Cronenberg film, and honestly, it was genius. And the models, oh, the models. They weren't just walking. They were stalking, prowling, and practically hissing down the catwalk. They had this raw, almost feral energy, like a pack of glamorous wolves ready to devour the fashion world. It was a far cry from those bland, Stepford Wives-esque models you usually see at fashion shows. These women were fierce, they were powerful, and they owned that goddamn runway. The Hunger was more than just a fashion show. It was a statement, a rebellion against the boring, predictable norms of the industry. McQueen was pushing boundaries, challenging perceptions, and making people think about fashion in a whole new way. It was like a punk rock concert disguised as a runway show, and it left an indelible mark on the fashion landscape. So there you have it, folks. The Hunger. A fashion earthquake that shook the industry to its core. A testament to McQueen's genius, and a reminder that sometimes the most shocking and controversial creations are the ones that endure the longest. And if you ever get a chance to see McQueen's work in person, I highly recommend it. It's an experience that will stay with you long after the last model has left the catwalk. Whoa.
Today, Newsbang, spinning facts at light speed, reporting only the hardest core truths.
And finally, let's take a look at tomorrow's headlines. The Times. Vietnamese generals too chicken for coup. There's a photo there of two smiling generals. The Sydney Telegraph. Kangaroo Parliament planned. They've got a map of Australia with a big arrow pointing to the Premier's house. The Express. Dutch do door-to-door in Austria. Belgians furious. That's a big story, spread across 9 pages. The Guardian. Brabant bonkers. They've got a picture of a very old illustration of a horse. And the Mail. Winged Rat Rex Cake Shop. That's not one of the main stories, but I thought I'd mention it anyway. That's it, good night, and Newsbang will be back again tomorrow with more news.
Tune in next time for more artificially intelligent hilarity. Newsbang is a comedy show, written and recorded by AI. All voices impersonated. Nothing here is real. Good night.